everyone, and welcome to the Chakra Diva Show. I am your host, Amber Poole. Thank you so much for joining me this Thursday evening. Today, I have a very special guest with me. Her name is Katie Bach. Hello, Katie.
Amber, I am so excited to be here today.
Isn't like in cheerleading, they go sprinkles or something like that? Like it's,
I think it's spirit fingers.
Spirit fingers to each other. So let me give Katie a proper introduction. She is my personal friend, but she is also a yoga instructor as well as a spiritual intuitive guide. She does coaching, mentoring. She is fantastic. So I met Katie
2016 maybe?
Okay, good. That's what I'm going with.
Yeah.
Well, we rented out space at the same location in Bel Air, and I would do my crystal healing business, and she would have yoga on the other side. And I was fortunate enough to combine classes with her, and we have done a chakra manifestation class together. Didn't we do two? I feel like we did another one.
We did like a chakra reset type thing. We did a heart chakra. We did lots of chakra stuff. Actually, it's been so long though.
Yes. And now that COVID, I don't want to say COVID is over. However, COVID is more acceptable that I can see you in person again. So I always have my fingers crossed that something is going to come up that will be fantastic so that we can work together again. So if you are in the Bel Air area, you definitely want to hook up with me and Katie.
Absolutely.
Tell me, I trained you in Crystal Reiki. That was in 2017.
I don't remember, honestly.
That's okay. What have you been up to since?
Well, you mentioned I'm a yoga instructor, right? Intuitive spiritual guide. So a lot of what I do is taking the energy healing, taking the Reiki and applying it to yoga and meditation. So every yoga and meditation class that I do, we're flowing with Reiki, we're getting that energy healing because everything is really interconnected, right? With yoga, we get to move the body, we get to work on the mindset, and then we add the energy to it. So we get to bring that mind, body, and energy, the spirit kind of together and really work on the things that we're blocked in, really get back into harmony within our chakra system. So that's a lot of what I do. And really, my main mission is to support women to plug back into themselves, to rediscover their power, their inner wisdom, the magic that flows inside of them, because it's so easy to get lost from yourself.
Absolutely. I don't know how many different avenues I have taken to find that quote yourself or that place. I always call it home, right? When you just feel like you are at home and you're in connection with your soul or your spirit. My question for you is, does anybody have to be Reiki attuned to take your class?
No, they don't have to be Reiki attuned. So they don't have to do the energy work themselves. I'm actually doing the energy healing through the session. So a lot of times if we're in a yoga session, we'll move through the yoga poses. Maybe we'll use some mudras, which is hand gestures that actually move the energy in certain directions. But then at the end, when we're in what's called savasana, it's like our surrender, our rest period, I am sending a energy healing through the chakra system based on whatever the focus of the practice was that day. So if the focus is compassion, we're kind of clearing out the blocks of those harsh words, the negative self-talk, and infusing your energetic system with compassion, with that heart chakra loving energy. So just kind of giving that little bit of boost and reset and release.
I love that. That sounds so beautiful. So I was anti-yoga for how many years? And it's interesting, like for me, because I am with spirit 24 hours a day, like I'm up in the clouds meditating nonstop. I felt like yoga was this practice that was too meditative for me. So I took up running, and running really helped me get rid of my energy and expel it in different ways. And then I came across a lady who did chakra yoga, and I couldn't stop. I was like, what is this? It's really opening up my heart, and I'm feeling different things. But yoga is amazing because it does move the emotions that you have dug down so deep within you and in your system kind of come up to the surface and they surprise me.
Absolutely.
I'm like,
Yeah.
why am I crying right now? What is going on like this?
Well, we have our emotions, right? And feelings come up and it's so easy to think it away, right? Or to come up with like the logical explanation as to why you feel the way you do or why these emotions are here. But in reality, your emotions sit in your body. So if we don't get into the body, we can't fully release them. And then they're just sitting there waiting until the right time to kind of come up again. And usually it's not in the most opportune time that that happens. So when we do yoga, when we move the body, and even running too, it can be that tool to really move those emotions through the body, like you said, and let them release and clear those blocks.
So you are also a massage therapist.
I am. I
And that
am.
is
Yes.
another way that your emotions and the stagnant energy. And I'm not much of a body person, right? So I think my last massage was for my first pregnancy back in 2009. And when she hit certain buttons, I was like, that? Like for me, it's very uncomfortable when it comes to, things of the body. But I also feel like that's how you move through the junk. That's how you move through the tough times as well. It's not just eating your green smoothie in the morning and grabbing your crystals and communicating. It's living in this body and processing it. So I love all of those things that you provide. But you also take it a step further. You made your own cards for
I
affirmations.
did. I
Oh my God.
did. Yes. Yes. Do you want to see them?
I want you to pull a collective card out for everyone. Like, what should
Okay.
our mantra be?
All right. I will. So it's Illuminations card deck, right? It's mantras, but it also has oracle messages, right? So every mantra comes with a message and it comes with a couple yoga poses you can do, crystals you can use with it. So you can really enhance that mantra. So let's pull a card collectively and see what comes up, what's going on right now. You know, I pull cards weekly in a
Yes, on
weekly
Facebook
forecast.
and on
Yes,
Instagram.
Facebook,
Yeah,
and now on the podcast.
nice. All right, I'll ask you about
Finished
that in
a
a second.
podcast yesterday. Yeah. So let's see what card comes up. Here we go. Okay. Funny that this is the card that came up since we were talking about emotions in the body. The card that came up is I give myself permission to be grounded in the moment, present, and feeling whatever comes up. I know I am whole and I trust in this journey. So when this card shows up, what it's saying is that there's something you're holding something back, right? Something's being pushed down inside. Maybe you've been pretending, maybe you don't want to feel it. You know, a lot of times those heavier emotions, we just kind of hide from them and we run from them. But what that does is just builds up and builds up for it to explode later at the least opportune time, most often. And so this card is saying that collectively, this is a time to get grounded in your body, to get grounded in the present moment and become aware of what you really feel. Because, and you have said this many times, your body is a compass.
Mhm.
You know, your
Then-
body is your guidance system. So I like to think of all the emotions we feel, all the feelings we feel as inspiration. You know, like inspiration is thought of as something uplifting, but everything you feel has the opportunity to inspire you if you allow it to. Your sadness can inspire you to make a change in your life because something's not serving you. Your anger can spark passion for you to go after something or to make a change, right? All of these emotions are really inspiration for you. It's really guidance for you, right? Our intuition, our inner wisdom isn't all like rainbows and beautiful messages. It's also those emotions that show up in your body. So collectively, it's time to get grounded, guys, and feel it.
Yep. I just actually taught Crystal Reiki level 1 right before getting on with you
Oh, wow.
tonight. And level 1 is all about being centered and being grounded. So we just went through a lot of practice, and being centered is like really, so in, I was trying to tell them in shamanism, what we do is you put your hand on your heart and that means I am. And when you do this, just this simple little thing, you breathe in, I am. And you can put it with any mantra that you want. And then we use our other hand and we put it on our solar plexus and I am of service, right? And I sit there
Okay.
with that to be centered and then to my body and actually feel what that feels like. And just that simple little thing of the heart and the solar plexus brings me back to this present moment in time.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a great way to do it too. Placing your hands on your body,
yeah.
connecting the heart to the solar plexus. I always like to do that because you connect that energy of love and harmony right into your space of action, into that space where you define yourself. And it's just like a beautiful connection to have, to make that
You're like
solar plexus.
you're downloading the imprint or the blueprint that you would like to become or you would like to have. And the more often you do that, the better connection you have at that. So then you could just pull that and go, okay, I need to feel grounded right now. And you know exactly what grounded feels like. And maybe for you, Katie, it's that pose that you do of what grounded feels like. For me, it's holding a crystal.
They both work.
That's how
Yeah,
it
they both work though.
yeah, it's fantastic. Do you still have your membership?
I do. I do.
I
Yeah.
thought it was fantastic. So tell me about it because I I don't want to go. I don't have time to go out and do a workout or exercise, and I really don't want to be around people. I mean, while I'm giving yoga. So your membership's extremely special. Please tell me about it.
Yeah, so the membership is called the Aligned Life Membership. And, again, the focus is to plug back into yourself, to really connect back to your power, your wisdom, your magic inside of you. And so it's like on demand yoga and meditation sessions that
Mm.
are all infused with that energy healing. So you really get this full package, this full experience. But there's also mini coaching lessons in there. So right now, we are actually focusing on each month a different piece of yoga philosophy, which is like kind of like the guidelines to soul liberation, right? It's built out in yoga, and we often forget yoga is not just a physical practice. There's like a whole way beyond just the physical movement. But so like this month we are focusing on compassionate courage. So first we're building courage, then we are exploring our fear and other emotions, then it's remembering compassion through that exploration, right? And then the last week we focus on really embodying that combination of courage and compassion, so it kind of builds on each other, because compassionate courage is like the foundation for you to free yourself, for you to be yourself, for you to liberate your soul. So all the yoga practices and all the meditations for the month kind of flow into this compassionate courage focus to support you in embodying that element of life and really activating it within you.
So you're telling me 2 o'clock in the morning when my child doesn't sleep, I can go online and take some yoga with you?
Absolutely. Yoga, meditation, whatever.
Mm.
So everything's recorded, right? And there's a library of like, I think at this point it's like 300 plus classes for you to choose from,
Nice.
anywhere from an hour to like, 5-10 minutes. Um, but I also do go live each month. We do an energy healing and we do a Q&A, card reading, tapping session. So twice a month, I'm live with you, there to answer your questions, to just give support, and give a card reading if you want one.
I love card readings. You know that. So
Yes.
tell me, because you have an updated thing as of yesterday. I saw all of your posts. I have a podcast. I have a podcast. I have a podcast. So, what is this podcast about?
Well, it has been a dream for me
Hmm.
for 2 years now
Mm-hmm.
to start a podcast. And as I'm sure that you and many listeners can relate, we have these dreams and we kind of hold ourselves back from them, right? We have all the reasons why not. And I finally, early this year, I said, you know what? There's no reason why I can't do this. I want to do it. My soul wants to do it. Why am I not doing it? So I was like, I'm going to have a podcast. I'm going to launch a podcast. And that was it. And that was like everything. What do I need to do? What needs to happen to make this a reality? And I just kept taking that aligned action, taking those steps. And I launched it yesterday with the first 5 episodes. It's called Living Free and Fulfilled. And it's real talk about living life your way. So it's me talking, I'm having people on interviewing. I'm sure Amber will be on at some point as well. Um, to really just have real talk about what it means to be free, what it means to feel fulfilled, what it means to live life in your way, like, to be yourself and to live a life that feels good for you, whatever that looks like in the moment.
It's that interesting because like I from my own experience and from coaching, from helping people for 10 plus years, how lost we can be because of all of, I call it the BS around you that tells you who you are or who you need to be or what you should be doing. And a lot of it's to accommodate other people, right? And their dreams of where they think that you should be. That's the most interesting. Um, and how to shine in a way that is perfectly for your soul. And I thought years ago, and I still thought it up into this moment, really, that the more psychic and in tuned I was, the more I was aligned with myself. But it wasn't like I can go around and be psychic and talk to your people, and it doesn't mean that I'm in alignment with myself, right? It's this
Yeah,
inner knowing, this inner peace of sitting down and saying, you know what does Katie want? What does Amber really want? Like, what makes you shine? And
yeah,
then as you find that shining point within you, it's going to stir up so much junk around you, right? It always creates because you're starting
absolutely.
a new template or a new alignment for you. And even that has a lot to do with your relationships, your friendships, right? Wherever your status is. I always say be friends with everybody because you never know how they can support you or how it's going to come back to you in your life. And it always does, right?
It
There's
does.
there's something that I'm like, oh my goodness, you know what? I know that Katie would be perfect for that. Or because people bring these special things to us as gifts, right? And we really need to allow that to come through. So I think your message is far beautiful. Um,
Thank
Give
you.
me like, what are some steps do you do? What do you do to become in alignment? What do you do to take that first step out?
So, really, the first step I would say to get into alignment or to plug back into yourself is the intention of wanting to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Setting that clear intention and making the choice every single day, because I'm not going to say it's super simple and easy because, like you said, when you start to connect into yourself, that means you're also going to start processing all the things you've been avoiding, right?
Yeah.
And like we have this thing, like people say, like healing is like an onion, right? You're always peeling the layers back. And what happens is we heal at the level that we're at. And then we level up, right? Our energy levels up. We kind of level up as we get to know ourselves better, as we plug back in. And then there's this next layer of healing that happens, right? Because you can now process your healing at a different level. And so, really, the first step is setting that intention and like making the choice every day that I want to plug into myself because I want to create a life that feels good for me, a life that's my way, right? And then it's about awareness, being aware of yourself, being aware of your moments, right? Okay, well, that didn't feel good in that moment. It didn't feel good for me to do that. It didn't feel good to say yes when I wanted to say no.
Mhm.
And that awareness to say, but why did I say yes when I wanted to say no? And that reflection piece, right? You have to be aware and explore it. You have to explore it to learn about yourself, which goes all the way into your crown chakra. You have to build that knowledge to connect back to your peace.
You need to have that
So,
soul connection, that higher
yeah,
self connection come down. I loved
yeah,
it because I was at this point where I'm like, well, what's next? Like we sit there, I mean, like we as in healers who are like trying to grow and get bigger. And it's almost like there's certain things you have to do, right? You have to write a book. You have to open up a place. You have to have a radio show, a podcast, right? Because that's quote leveling up. And I finally had this moment with myself where I was like, I don't feel like feeding into that. Like
Yeah.
that does not feel good for my soul. Right. So I took it back and I'm like, you know what? I want to be local again. I want to go into like, I want to hug people and touch people and just love them because it fills my soul up so, so much. Right. And that's what works for me, not, you know, not what I'm supposed to do on the outside. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. So that's like creating and letting the tower fall around me. My favorite thing to do is surrender. When I go, all right, I'm done. I was like, I don't know what
That's
I'm
your
doing in life.
favorite thing to do? Are you sure?
Oh yeah.
Because I am like, what? I gotta surrender? No. Please,
No.
no.
I'm like, I know nothing. I'm really confused. I'm lost. I give in. What do you want me to do? And I just take this step back and I'm like, just show me. Show me everything because obviously I'm having an issue or I feel stuck or having a hard time pushing through, whatever it may be. So surrendering is actually one of my favorite things to do because I'm like, oh, yes, we get to rebuild. I was a food blogger for 6 years. I was a runner. Like I create myself over and over and over again, right? Spiritual person. And now I'm like, well, who do you want to be now, Amber? It's my favorite question to ask myself. Favorite archetype. Like, what archetype do you want to be in the morning? Right? How
Yeah.
long does that fit with your soul? So I love to surrender.
And it is a beautiful thing to surrender. I like when I've actually surrendered. The process of getting to the surrender, maybe not so much, right?
Right, because you tried every single avenue and it's just not working. And you're like, fine, I get it. I see it. Because
Yeah.
I have burnout very easily trying to push my way. But then you have universe going, okay, is she going to just take a step back or is she going to burn out again? What's going on here? Right. And when I hit
Right.
that point, I was like, oh, I need to have a moment of surrender. So I turn off all social media and I'm like, I just go inside. I'm like, I'm not
Yeah.
talking to anybody today, and it's fine. And if I don't want to talk to anybody tomorrow, that's fine too. And then I kind of come out when I'm ready because I feel better. And I think that's the whole entire program about how you're connecting in with yourself, how to make you feel like you're a person, an authentic person. Do we use that word a lot?
Absolutely.
Authenticity with you? Is that correct? I feel like that's a mutual word that we always use.
Yes, I do really like that word, like authenticity and being in your truth and who you are, right? And you mentioned too, like all the outside things like that you're supposed to do,
Mhm.
and that's where that reflection piece kind of comes in and that awareness piece, because there
Yes.
are so many outside dreams,
Mhm.
which means the dreams of other people. And that's all the shoulds that we feel. And oh, I shouldn't do this, but I should do this, or I have to do this, right? And that's just building belief systems inside of us that aren't even our own, right? And so when you set that intention and you make the choice to plug back in every day to yourself, whatever that looks like in that day, right? Doing it without judgment on yourself, and you choose to be aware and reflect, that gives you the opportunity to determine, is this belief where I'm saying I should do this or I have to do this, is this actually my dream, my belief, or is this something that's been placed on me, something I've taken on, right? And then you get to do the work, or I don't like to say work, but you get to go through the process of releasing that belief, releasing that should, have to, and creating whatever you want.
So in shamanism, we do this thing where we take off all the layers that we've ever created or all of the titles, right? So I would take off the title of spiritual healer. I would take off the title, whatever it is, right? And then the question is, who's left? Like, where are you? And I'm like, I have to sit with what? Like, how do you strip down every title that you have? Because you always feel like you have to live up. I hate writing. I am a energy healer. I am a crystal healer. And I'm like, but I'm so much more than that. Like, how do you fit all that in? And I realized that when I do movement, and even if it's yoga and I touch my toes for the day, yes, that helps me, right? It goes with the flow. It connects my body in with what my mind's saying and gives me a little bit of a break through that. So my last question to you is, you are a mom, I am a mom, right? How do we balance all of this, right? What's a trick or a tip that you can give other spiritual people that have a lot on their plate of how to be spiritual too?
Okay, so I'm going to do two tips real quick, right? One, I used to lock myself in the closet. I would
Mm,
just go to the closet 2 to 5 minutes, just give myself that time, right? So, really, that's the major tip. It doesn't have to be an hour practice, doesn't have to be a 20-minute meditation. Take 2 minutes every couple of hours a day to pause and breathe, to put your hands on your body, your heart, your solar plexus, to connect back in and just become aware of how you're feeling. It doesn't have to be long. 2 minutes is enough because as you do the 2 minutes, you'll start to build more time into your day.
I think that's probably the best tip ever. That's what we need. Fantastic. Katie, I cannot thank you enough. Please tell me quickly how we can get a hold of you.
You can find me at katiebach.com or on Facebook, Instagram at katiebach yoga. And thank you so much for having me today.
I'll see you guys next Thursday. Thank you, everybody, for being here.